Today we're about to make a call on the halls of healing. I finally got in to see an orthopedic guy on my shoulder, so we're gonna see what he has to say today. Hopefully it'll be some good news, nothing too serious. I'm looking forward to meeting with him and finding out maybe he can just put me on a little improvement or exercise program, but I'm a little bit anxious about what we're gonna find out today. Time to go register and check in. You're going to be seeing Dr. Ho in orthopedics.
This is a shoulder joint. This is actually a right shoulder. Okay. Your clavicle's in the front. All right. The shoulder joint is basically a ball and socket joint. Also around your shoulder is the rotator cuff tendons. The rotator cuff tendon, every tendon originates from muscle belly. The muscle belly becomes the tendon. So when the muscle contracts and shortens, it pulls the tendon to raise your arm up.
Right.
Now, your humeral head, the rotator cuff inserts all the way around here. A full thickness tear is defined by the full thickness of this rotator. The full width is torn off and can retract.
Separated completely from the bone.
Separates completely. A partial thickness is where it just goes through halfway, but not all the way to the other side. Okay. So we can tell that, we test that out in our exam by testing your strength. Right. Because some people just don't have strength at all. And that's because they don't have an attachment. Right? So that's why it's weak. Okay. Now you have a little bit of weakness, but I think most of your weakness is more likely from your inflammation and rotator cuff tendinitis. I'm going to predict if you do have a full thickness tear, it is small. I think you've bought yourself an MRI because I think your treatment ultimately will be different depending on what we find.
Okay, so I'm outside the doctor's office, and good news, bad news, I guess. The bad news is he's got some confidence that I have at least a partial tear in the rotator cuff. The good news is that he's pretty sure it's not at least a full tear, and so with a partial tear, there's some stuff that we can do. He's not going to be completely sure what the issue is until we get an MRI, so he's ordered an MRI for me. But we've come up with a preliminary plan based on what his initial diagnosis looks like. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a cortisone shot in the area, in the beginning of October. And hopefully that will kick in about 2 or 3 weeks and get me at least in a position where I can go compete in the Worlds at the end of October. So that's the good news. After that, there's a chance that I might have to go in for some outpatient surgery or arthroscopic surgery, and we aren't going to know until we get the final diagnosis from the MRI. So in this next week or so, we'll get an MRI, and then we'll have a more definitive explanation of what's going on, better picture of what the results are, and then we'll come up with a more definitive plan. So I guess the good news is right now that it could have been worse. The bad news is that there's some damage I'm going to have to deal with, but I think it'll be okay, and I'll be able to go compete in one way or the other. I'll be on the tee.